Suppressors in BF6 have quietly changed in ways that most players don't even realize, and if you're not paying attention, you might be giving up power for nothing. Today, we're breaking down how suppressors truly work in Battlefield 6, the hidden stats, the invisible spotting mechanics, and why your choice of suppressor could be the difference between surviving an ambush or lighting yourself up like a Christmas tree on your enemy's minimap. So buckle in, because what I'm about to show you completely flips what we thought we knew about stealth in Battlefield. In older Battlefield titles, suppressors were a double-edged sword. Sure, they kept you off the radar, but they came with brutal trade-offs. You'd lose bullet velocity, your shots hit weaker, and you had to lead targets just to land a hit. That's what made running suppressed in Battlefield 4 or Battlefield 1 a risky but rewarding choice, stealth over stopping power. Fast forward to Battlefield 6, and things aren't so simple anymore. Suppressors no longer gut your bullet speed or your damage output. Instead, DICE redesigned them to focus on one thing: how visible you are, both in the world and on the minimap. But here's where it gets weird. Every suppressor claims to make you less visible. Yet once you start testing them, the truth is a lot messier than the in-game description wants you to believe. And that's exactly what we're about to uncover. Let's start with the basics. There are 4 suppressors in Battlefield 6: the standard suppressor, long suppressor, lightning suppressor, and CQB suppressor. All 4 come with nearly identical descriptions: fully hides in-world spotting, and reduces the range where a soldier is spotted on the minimap when firing. Sounds great, right? Stay silent, stay hidden, profit. But there's a problem. When you equip them in-game, they all appear to behave almost identically. They hide your 3D spotting Dorito, that red triangle enemies see above your head, and they reduce your minimap signature past about 15 meters. Within 15 meters though, you're still showing up. Every single time. It doesn't matter if you're rocking the cheap standard or the pricey CQB. You'll ping the radar in close quarters no matter what. And that's already a huge surprise, because on paper, you'd think the CQB suppressor, close quarters is literally in the name, would keep you stealthy up close. So why even bother having 4 different types if they all do the same thing? That's where things start to get interesting. I spent hours testing each suppressor in both the firing range and live matches, and here's what I found. Every suppressor does remove your 3 dice spotting. That means no red triangle floating above your head when enemies tag you. Great. But when it comes to the minimap, the story's different. If you fire within roughly 15 meters of an enemy, you'll still show up as a red dot. Past 15 meters, you're safe. No ping, no trace, no giveaway. And that behavior doesn't change, no matter which suppressor you're using. Now, that might sound fine at first, but think about it. Close quarters fights are where stealth matters most. That's when you're trying to flank, ambush, or sneak through buildings. And yet, Battlefield 6's suppressors completely fail you in that moment. It's like the developers built these attachments around the idea of stealth, but forgot to actually make them useful in the situations where stealth counts. But maybe you're thinking, maybe they all have the same visibility, but they probably differ in performance stats, right? You'd hope so. But again, Battlefield 6 had another surprise waiting. Here's where most players get confused. In previous games, suppressors punished you. You'd lose bullet velocity, you'd have to lead shots more, and you'd hit softer. In Battlefield 6, not anymore. Equipping a suppressor, any of them, doesn't change your bullet speed, doesn't touch your damage numbers, and doesn't mess with your range. Every stat on paper stays exactly the same, no matter what suppressor you slap on your gun. So, what's the catch? Each suppressor instead tweaks your handling. Things like hipfire accuracy, recoil control, and weapon sway. Standard suppressor, slight hit to hipfire accuracy. Long suppressor, reduces recoil but hurts hipfire and increases sway. Lightning suppressor, similar story. Less recoil, but you'll feel the hit in hipfire precision. CQB suppressor, the premium option, costs the most, but no stat penalties. So on paper you're thinking, cool, the CQB suppressor is just straight up better. But remember what we discovered earlier. All 4 handle visibility exactly the same. So you're paying extra, not for better stealth, but for fewer downsides you probably won't notice in a real firefight. Still, there's a subtle advantage here. Because these suppressors affect recoil and sway, they change how your gun feels more than how it performs statistically. It's not about numbers anymore. It's about control and comfort. And that's exactly why choosing the right one depends on how you play. If you're the kind of player who prefers to run and gun, flank enemies, and move aggressively, the CQB suppressor might still be your best bet. It keeps your aim snappy and your movement smooth without any weird recoil trade-offs. Sure, you'll still ping the minimap if you fire too close, but your weapon will feel clean and responsive. If you're a long-range player who wants precision and control, the long suppressor gives you slightly reduced recoil at the cost of some hipfire spread. That means your mid-range duels will feel steadier, especially with weapons like the M5A3 or the AK-24. And for players who just want a balanced setup, The standard suppressor or lightning suppressor are basically interchangeable. You'll get the same visibility benefits either way. But here's the truth. You should still use a suppressor on almost every build. Even though they're not perfect, staying off 3D spotting and limiting your radar signature past 15 meters gives you a huge tactical edge in chaotic matches. Still, imagine how much more interesting the game would be if each suppressor truly had a unique role, and that's exactly what we'll get into next. Here's the thing. Battlefield 6 got so close to reinventing suppressors, but then stopped halfway. Right now, they all behave like slight variations of the same attachment. You equip one, you stay off the radar past 15 meters, and that's about it. Functional, sure. Exciting? Not really, but imagine if each suppressor actually had a personality, a clear role that changed how you played. That's where Battlefield 6 could have pushed the meta into something way more interesting. For example, the CQB suppressor could have been the ultimate stealth tool for close quarters chaos. Keep you completely off the minimap inside 20 meters, trade a little bullet velocity for it, and maybe reduce range damage slightly to balance it out. That would feel different. It would force players to decide, do I want invisibility up close or full power at distance? Then you've got the long suppressor. Give it the opposite identity. Let it remove you from the minimap entirely, even at long range, but cut your bullet speed or increase recoil to make it a specialist choice. That would reward accuracy and patience, perfect for players who like to control space from mid-range positions. The lightning suppressor could play into reaction time, maybe reduce recoil and keep handling sharp, but only partially hide you from detection. It becomes the hybrid pick. Quick, reliable, but not invisible. And finally, the standard suppressor, the middle ground. Balanced, affordable, does the job without overcomplicating it. 4 suppressors, 4 playstyles. Right now, Battlefield 6 gives us one suppressor system wearing 4 different skins. But it could be a mini-meta on its own. Here's why this isn't just nitpicking. Battlefield has always been about information. The players who see more, win more. And suppressors are supposed to be the counter to that system. They're how you deny info. When spotting mechanics got overhauled in BF6, the suppressor should have evolved with it. Instead, it's frozen in the old mindset. Hide the triangle, silence the sound, that's it. But information warfare in Battlefield 6 is way more complex now. Drones, sensors, active pings, thermal scopes. You can hide your muzzle flash, sure, but there's still a recon 100 meters away tagging you through smoke. So, what's the point of a suppressor that doesn't adapt to modern spotting tools? That's the part that most players don't realize. Stealth isn't dead, it's outdated. And if DICE ever updates how suppressors interact with these new detection systems, it could completely flip the pacing of the game. Imagine a future update where each suppressor changes not only your visibility, but also how sensors react to you. The CQB suppressor blocks drone scans for a few seconds after firing. The long suppressor delays ping detection. That would turn attachments into tactical tools, not just cosmetics with numbers. The suppressor situation in Battlefield 6 is a small window into how the devs are rethinking balance overall. They're not just changing stats, they're changing systems. And that's why this topic matters beyond the attachments themselves. When a game moves from numbers to mechanics, you get new layers of decision-making. Suppressors aren't about damage anymore. They're about information control. That's what makes them so fascinating. The trade-off isn't between power and silence. It's between being seen and being felt. Because when you fire unsuppressed, you're announcing yourself to the whole lobby. But when you run suppressed, you become that silent threat in the background, the one nobody notices until it's too late. And that psychological impact, that's what defines high-level Battlefield play. So even if the numbers don't change, the mind game does. And that's where true stealth mastery begins. Since launch, the community's been divided. Some players love the new suppressors. No velocity loss, no weird damage drop-off, finally something usable on all builds. Others think they're too watered down, too safe, lacking the distinct trade-offs that made earlier games so strategic. Forums, subreddits, and feedback threads have been full of ideas. Let us have one suppressor that hides us completely. Make them affect recoil differently by weapon type. Tie minimap visibility to caliber. Small arms stay hidden, heavy rifles can't. All of those suggestions point to the same frustration. Players want depth. They don't want 4 attachments that feel identical. They want 4 different tools that force them to think. And honestly, they're right. Battlefield has always thrived when the sandbox feels alive, when every gun, gadget, and attachment gives you a reason to adapt. Suppressors could easily be part of that again with just a few tweaks. Now here's where things get exciting. DICE has been quietly adjusting weapon balance behind the scenes. Some insiders have even hinted at visibility tuning coming in future updates, essentially a rework of how sound and spotting interact. If that happens, suppressors could finally step into the spotlight they deserve. Imagine new variants, thermal-resistant suppressors that block infrared scans, or adaptive models that shorten your radar signature the longer you stay alive without dying. It would add progression, tension, and a reason to think about stealth as a strategy, not just an attachment slot. And here's the best part. Stealth mechanics like these make every playstyle more interesting. Snipers could reposition without giving away their trail. Aggressive players could rush objectives without pinging radar. Support mains could actually defend positions quietly without getting instantly located. It's not just balance, it's identity. Battlefield 6 could redefine how shooters handle visibility entirely. And if that happens, suppressors might go from being just another attachment to the most important part of your loadout. EA, the company famous for charging extra for everything, actually handed out free rewards to apologize for their rough EA app launch. Anyone who bought the standard edition through the EA app is getting 12 hardware XP boosters and 12 career XP boosters, each lasting 60 minutes. On top of that, every affected player gets the first season pass for free. And if you bought the premium Phantom edition, you're also getting the Season 2 pass at no extra cost. That's a big move, especially because once you buy a battle pass, you usually earn enough points to keep unlocking future ones for free. So, yeah, they basically gave players permanent access to every season pass, as long as you keep finishing them. That's shockingly generous for EA. Maybe they're finally realizing that goodwill sells better than loot boxes. Right when people thought Battlefield 6 was finally stabilizing, the community did what it does best: ignite chaos. A screenshot started flying around Twitter, showing leaked ultra-rare operator skins, neon armor, gold weapons, even a wild anime-themed jet pilot. It looked real, it looked crazy, and everyone lost their minds. Except, it was fake, full Photoshop job. Some players immediately called it out, but others ran with it, ranting about Battlefield turning into Fortnite and EA selling fashion passes next. Even a few gaming sites picked it up before realizing it was a meme. DICE had to step in and confirm, no, those skins don't exist. And honestly, it shows how tense this community still is. After years of questionable monetization, players don't just doubt EA, they expect the worst. But hey, at least this one ended in laughs instead of more bugs. Here's where the real frustration kicks in. Battlefield 6 might look gorgeous, but its user interface, menus, loadouts, squad screens, still feels like a beta build. It's cluttered, confusing, and somehow slower than the servers. Players are begging DICE to bring back the cleaner Battlefield 1 style menus. You can't even find simple things like your ping or ticket count without digging through tabs. It's wild that the UI feels more broken than the guns right now. But there's good news. Devs quietly confirmed a full UI rework is in development, including faster class switching and simplified weapon customization. If they nail that, the game could finally feel polished, not just patched together. For the first time since launch, the Battlefield fanbase is divided, but not in a bad way. Half the community is still skeptical, listing bugs and broken features. The other half, genuinely excited. Streams are seeing higher viewer counts. Reddit is full of clips instead of complaints. And even ex-players from 2042 are coming back to test the waters. It's that fragile moment every Battlefield game hits. The crossroads between redemption and relapse. And the crazy part is, the foundation's actually strong this time. Gunplay feels better, maps are balanced, and DICE is actually communicating. Those three things alone can save a franchise. The dev roadmap hints at a Season 1.5 update that'll drop new operators, a reworked movement model, and better visibility controls to finally kill that HDR glare. They're even teasing new destruction physics for certain maps. Yeah, proper collapsing buildings again. If they deliver that, Battlefield 6 could easily turn from a meme into the comeback shooter of the year. But the real test? Consistency. Battlefield doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to stay stable long enough for players to trust it again. And honestly, after everything we've seen, the bans, the fixes, the bugs, the wins, this feels like the start of something big. So, what have we learned? Suppressors in Battlefield 6 may not slow your bullets or lower your damage, but they still change the flow of every fight. They're about control, not of your weapon, but of information. They let you decide when the enemy gets to notice you, and that's one of the most powerful choices in the game. But right now, they're underused, misunderstood, and badly in need of identity. Each type should mean something. Each should force a decision. Until then, we're left with tools that promise stealth, but only whisper half the story. If the developers ever take another pass at the suppressor system, it could completely reshape the Battlefield 6 meta, giving players a reason to rethink how they move, shoot, and survive. So next time you build your loadout, don't just throw on a suppressor for style. Think about what kind of player you want to be. The loud one everyone sees coming, or the quiet one they never see at all. If this breakdown helped you understand suppressors a little better, hit that like button. It tells me you actually care about these deep dive videos and want more of them. And if you've got your own theory about how suppressors should work, drop it in the comments. I read every one of them. We're building a smart tactical battlefield community here. No noise, no nonsense, just facts and fun. So, hit subscribe, join the squad, and I'll see you out there. Silent, sharp, and off the radar.